So in this video we're going to be looking at the concept of angels, specifically the different roles angels have in Islam, so Jibril, Mikhail and Israfil, and also the role they play in the afterlife and what it means for Muslims to kind of believe in angels as well. So this is going to take us through some of the key concepts. So I recommend printing off the PDF document which is attached to this video, or freeze this slide and use this as a basis for making notes as we take through the key ideas in this section. So Islam is quite interesting because it has quite an advanced understanding of what angels are, and they have quite specific roles within Islam as well. One of the key roles is they remind Muslims that God is transcendent. If he's transcendent, he's beyond the universe, therefore it's difficult for us to communicate with him. Therefore angels, as well as being one of the 6 articles of faith, have this role as an intermediary, so they communicate between us and God. So the belief in angels is crucial for Islam and is one of the key 6 articles of faith. And if angels did not exist, then revelation to humanity from Allah would almost be kind of impossible. So I don't really like this slide particularly, but it's about what angels are in essence. And so there's a few points I'll kind of take you through. And so because Allah's transcendent and beyond the physical world, beyond the physical stuff around us, angels are needed as his method of communication between us and him. They're made of light, they're sexless, and they have consciousness and full awareness of all matters, but they do not have free will, and so they're totally obedient to Allah, to God. This is contrasted to humans who are made of earth. We have free will and we can choose between right and wrong. And there's several instances in the Quran where Allah converses with angels before the universe was created, which suggests they were made before humans were made. And there's a few quotes there you can use to support your work there. And we have a little table which you can use, so you can pause this and then use a few of these quotations to support your writings on the different roles of the angels. Have a look at it and see what the key ideas are on each of the quotations. So this is the cave where Angel Jibril, the next angel we're going to talk about, visited Muhammad, and he started receiving the revelations of the Quran. It's a bit shaky because it's I've nicked this bit off YouTube, so it's a blogger or somebody who's been to visit the cave. But Jibril we're going to talk about next is a really important angel in Islam because he brings a message of Allah to the prophets. For example, in the Quran it says, Gabriel, who by God's leave brought down the Quran to your heart, confirming previous scriptures. And say that the Holy Spirit has brought a revelation with the truth step by step from your Lord to strengthen the believers and as guidance for good news to the devout. So in some of the hadiths he's described as one of the 3 most important angels and an archangel. And Jibril is mentioned in the Quran, and he's also called a spirit. So the next angel we need to know about is Michael, or Mikhail, sorry for my bad pronunciation. So some of the Muslims see him as one of the 3 great angels and an archangel because of the duty he performs. His task is to provide nourishment for bodies and souls, to bring the seasons, rain, wind, thunder and the earth. And some also thinks he gives rewards to those who are being good. And he's mentioned once in the Quran and many of the traditions associated with him from the hadiths. And they believe, hold on a second. So some Muslims also believe that he was one of the 3 angels who visited Abraham to announce that his wife would have Isaac and to inform him of the destruction of the people of Lot. So he's also a messenger and he guards heaven as well. So our next angel is Israfil at the end times. This is a little clip from a volcano in Hawaii. Possibly it looks like the end times, or maybe it's just a volcano, but anyway, it gives you an idea. So in the Quran, Israfil is only mentioned through the duty he performs, so the blowing of the trumpet. And this trumpet will be blown twice. Firstly, to announce the end of time, when all come to attention and die. And secondly, to announce the day of resurrection and the day of judgment. His name means the burning one, which is given in different hadiths, where it's also said that he constantly has a trumpet at his lips waiting for Allah's command. And then the last angel we're going to look at is Azrael. And so Israel, or Azrael, is also called the angel of death and is responsible for ending our life. He's responsible for parting the soul from the body, and he's only referred to as Malik al-Maut, meaning angel of death in the Quran, not Israel. Hence, some Muslims are reluctant to call him by his name. Have a look at those quotes on screen as well. There is also a famous incident with regards to Moses or Musa. The angel of death approached Musa to take his soul, but Musa was able to delay this, and Allah granted him this favour for being faithful. There's even reports that when the angel of death visited the Prophet Muhammad's house, he asked permission before entering his house and taking his soul. And so now we get on to the angels of Munkar and Nakir. These angels aren't directly mentioned in the Quran, but there is information about them in the Hadiths. These are the angels that question you when you die. And so when you're in your grave, these two angels will appear and they'll ask you three questions. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? And who is your prophet? And if you give a correct answer to these, you'll be taken to heaven or hell. These are meant to be terrifying angels, black eyes, hairy tongues, quite a scary pair. So the next section you need to know about is the Day of Judgment and the afterlife, and kind of what happens before people are separated to go to heaven or hell. And so we're told that Allah is the only one who knows the appointed time, but there's going to be certain signs which precede this. There's going to be a trumpet which is blown before, the dead are going to be raised, and any personal records are going to be revealed, so if you're good or bad. And then judgment is going to be pronounced. This day is going to be longer than a normal day, we're told, and the believers are going to be separated from the unbelievers. And Allah is going to reconstruct all the people who have died right down to their kind of fingerprints. And then there's going to be a bridge where people cross to get into heaven. So the idea of a Day of Judgment is accepted by kind of all Muslims, both Sunni and Shia. Paradise, Jannah, in the Quran is described as a place like a garden of kind of bliss, with rivers flowing with non-intoxicating wine, milk and honey. It's a timeless realm where everybody's desires will be realised. There'll be no grief or weariness, and it'll be a peaceful place where Allah's attributes shine forth. Paradise has many levels, and it is believed that on the night journey Muhammad visited paradise after visiting through the 7 levels of heaven. And it is said to be the destiny of righteous with the prophets and martyrs at the most pious residing in the highest level, and martyrs go immediately to paradise where they die rather than wait for the Day of Judgment. Hell, on the other hand, is seen as quite a terrifying place. It said there's 7 gates or 7 levels monitored by 19 angels, or in the Shia tradition, it's millions of angels under the leadership of Malik. Each level of hell is more horrendous, with people being sent to the level that matches their crimes. So all levels will be pitch black and filled with scorching winds, the screams of the damned, and black smoke from blazing fires. Some of the torments will involve having boiling water constantly poured onto their bodies, stinging scorpions and snakes whose venom will last for many years. Only infested water will be available to drink, along with the fruit of the zakam tree. Hell is the fate of those who have denied Allah, such as polytheists, hypocrites, and atheists as well. And Shaitan, the devil, will be punished in hell along with those jinn and those who have disobeyed Allah. So during your life, you have these 2 angels, Rakid and Atid, who sit on your shoulders, and they record all of your deeds while you live your life. And the book in which the angels are writing is a cumulative record of a person's actions. And after the person's death, it is said that the Day of Judgment, each person will be confronted with this book and this record, and the 2 angels will present to God and tell God about what the person did. So let's have a look at one of the questions, the evaluation questions. So whether the Day of Final Judgment inspires fear or faith. And so this is asking you about whether the belief in the afterlife is a good motivator for positive behaviour. And so you could argue that the 2 angels, Rakid and Atid, they're recording all of your actions, and that's going to be a huge motivator for your actions while on earth. You could also say that the teachings in hell are quite clear, they're quite vivid. The descriptions of heaven and hell, they've got to motivate people as they are so descriptive. The ideas of being poured in boiling water continually, the ideas of having a river of milk and wine to kind of drink, that's going to be a strong motivating factor as well. The teachings about Allah being merciful is hugely important, but it doesn't mean Muslims can be complacent in their behaviour. Yes, Allah's merciful, but he's not going to forgive you for all sorts of sins that you do. You could argue that actually the Holy Quran and following the 5 pillars in your daily practice, that's what makes you a good person and makes you a better person, not a belief in hell. You could argue that the descriptions of heaven and hell are, and the descriptions of the afterlife are outdated. I mean, these were passages written when Muhammad and the early Muslims were in Medina, and they wanted to make sure people were following Muhammad and not going off and joining the Quraysh or joining the Meccan tribes. And so they're concerned about what was going on in their own society. And so you could argue that it was maybe a symbolic thing, or maybe it's outdated. You could also argue that is a person only moral because they fear punishment? That doesn't strike me as a particularly moral reason to choose a particular action. If you're only doing it because you're scared of the consequences, is it truly moral action? You could ask that question. And finally, you could argue that heaven and hell are only part of a complete system of Islam. It's important to be a good Muslim, but also following a literal understanding of heaven and hell, as described, we've looked at there, is quite problematic in a modern sort of scientific age. So the second possible question you might get on this section is about angels, and are they a necessary concept for Islam? You could start off by saying we've got quite a developed system of angels. It's quite an interesting one. It's quite varied, and it explains lots of different aspects of their faith and how the universe kind of functions and is put together. You could say that angels were described at a time before scientific knowledge, but they maybe have a sort of symbolic role today. You could say they are quite important for the idea of God being transcendent, because you need this messenger between humanity and God couldn't be transcendent otherwise if we could talk directly to God. You could talk about Israel is collecting souls. You could talk about the way they are key in delivering the Quran, and you could also talk about they're one of the key articles of faith. And it would be very easy to dismiss angels as an important aspect of Islam, although they are key in reminding Muslims of their good behaviour and maintaining deeds in the final judgment. And you could use lots of examples we discussed earlier in the video to kind of back this up.